This is the new Skoda Karoq, and it comes into a marketplace that's absolutely fit to bursting. But is it one that you should buy? Well, to find out, I'm going to be doing a 1,500-mile continental road trip to find out whether it's any good or not. I'm not just going to do a normal road test, but I'll be driving this £33,000 Karoq Edition 2-litre diesel from Skoda's hometown in the Czech Republic, down to Austria, up through Germany, across France, and back to London, taking in a variety of different terrains. It'll be a journey of 1,500 miles. First stop, the Czech Republic's capital. Well, here we are then, in lovely Prague. It's all very pretty. Very different from Malada, which is of course where we picked up the car. And the thing that strikes you there is, of course, everybody drives a Skoda. They're fiercely loyal to the brand. Well, they would be, because of course that's where the company was first founded. Can you believe that Skoda dates all the way back to 1895? It is one of the oldest car manufacturers in existence. Now, it was founded by two people, Václav Laurent and Václav Klaus. And they started out by building cars and motorcycles, and they did a jolly good job of it. They built some very elegant cars, big, elegant Tourers, very much of the age. Now, the company was bought in 1926 by Skoda and renamed Skoda Auto, and the company changed quite a lot. Well, it had to, because of course Czechoslovakia was under communism, and the cars became very practical and very rudimentary in some cases. But the biggest change happened in the mid-90s when the VW Group bought it, and they started to change the company by adding a lot more quality, a lot more value for money, and the cars, especially towards the end of the 90s and into the early 2000s, the cars became a lot more stylish, which brings us right up to date with this, the Skoda Karoq. Now, just like any other VW Group product, it is very beholden to the father brand, because this is of course based on the VW Golf. This car's sister car is the Seat Ateca, but the Seat, hopefully we shall discover on this road trip, feels a little bit different to this car. I hope so, because we've got 1,500 miles to do in this car, and I really want to find out whether this is just another SUV or an SUV that you really should consider buying. With Prague done, it's time to head to our overnight stop in Austria, and the place? Salzburg, the home of Mozart and Julie Andrews and a family of children. Day 2, and it's time to point the grey Skoda southwest. So far, the Karoq has been outstanding. Over the rough roads of rural Czech Republic, it's been comfortable, and around the congested city of Salzburg, it's been easy to drive. But what's it like in the snow? To find out, I went to Kitzbühel, a ski resort in southwest Austria, home of the famous downhill ski run. So we found out the Karoq is good around the city, but what's it like in something that's a little bit more challenging? Well, we've come to Kitzbühel. It's right on the border between Austria and Germany, and since 1937 this place has been scaring downhill skiers because the ski run here is incredibly fierce. Now, you will know that if you watch Ski Sunday. I do, because naturally I'm a very active person. Yeah, I'm not kidding you, am I? But we wanted to come here because, well, we wanted to try it out in a slightly more off-road terrain. Now, you can't say this snow is particularly difficult, but it is enough to scare most fake 4x4 small SUVs, and it really isn't worrying the Karoq at all. Now, we have got the 2-litre TDI with 4-wheel drive. There's also an off-road button just down here, which gives the traction control system an extra bit of slip, and it also controls the electronic differential a little bit more to allow you to go over slightly severe off-road terrain. Skoda will also sell you an off-road package if you're really insistent on taking your Karoq off-road. Now, the reality is you're probably not going to be going severely off-road in your Karoq, but it's just nice to know that it'll be able to handle it in emergency situations, just in case. Messing about in the snow over, it was time to head north and attack Germany and its de-restricted autobahns. Here, the Karoq held its own, and I even managed to nudge the 148 brake horsepower 2-litre diesel up to 120 miles an hour. Motorway refinement was impeccable, and even with a boot full of luggage, we were averaging over 40 mpg.
Day 3, and after a depressing breakfast of soggy croissants, we cruised into Strasbourg in France. Wet and horrible, the Karoq was a nice place to be, and again, around Strasbourg's tight medieval streets, it was easy to drive and a cinch to park. But with our 3 PM Channel Tunnel crossing ever looming, it was time to hit the road and settle in for the worst part of a continental road trip: northern France.
It's probably about time that I gave you a bit of a status report and to talk to you a little bit more about this car. Now, it's excelled in the city where the engine has been really punchy, there's great visibility. We've really taken use of the park assist, which takes control of the steering wheel when you're parking. And even in the snow, this thing has really excelled. I mean, you really wouldn't expect a small little SUV to cope with the type of snow that we've been encountering, but it's been fantastic. The four-wheel drive system has delivered the power to each wheel just so, and the winter tyres that we've got fitted as well have done a really good job in keeping the car grippy and giving enough traction as well. Now we're ploughing through France on the final leg of our journey, and once again, surprise, surprise, the Karoq, it's doing very, very well, and really for this 2-litre TDI model, this is where it's at home. Now, personally speaking, I would probably go for the 1.5 turbocharged petrol if I were going to go for a Karoq, but if you're going to be doing lots and lots of motorway journeys, the 2-litre TDI is the one to go for. Why? Well, there's lots and lots of punch. I mean, overtaking in this thing is really very straightforward, and the 7-speed DSG gearbox really does slip through gears very, very nicely. Now, I have noticed that 7th gear is very much a cruising gear, because as soon as you touch the throttle, like I am now, it slips down into 6th. That really isn't a massive problem. What else do I like about the Karoq? Well, I particularly like the interior quality. Now, everything you touch in here is really very well made. There is a few scratchy plastics down on the doors, but this is probably the best car in its class for interior quality. There's no doubt about that. Now, you could say the Karoq is a little bit more boring compared to the old Skoda Yeti. And I started off with that view, I have to admit, but the more time I spent with this car, the more I've realised that this car just gets on with the job, and it gets on with the job very, very well. And it's not without its little design quirks and thoughtful little touches. The things I really like in this car are the things that Skoda have put some extra thought into. So down here, for instance, in the door pockets, there's some string here, some elasticated string, so you can put things in there. I mean, we've got a map of Prague, for instance. Totally useless now because we're in France, but it's a handy place to store it. And there's also a little rubbish bin here. Can you see that? Look, which is great for families, I suppose. Another thing I like down here is in the storage area. Now, normally it's just a big tray, but not in the Karoq. There's some cup holders with some special little grips so you can undo bottles one-handed. That's a really nice touch, isn't it? And there's a space to put the key. Now, I don't know about you, but these days with keyless start, what do you do with the key? Because I don't like to put it in my pocket because it's really uncomfortable, but Skoda have thought about that. There's a little place to put it. It's just really nicely designed car in here, really nicely thought out, and it's really nicely made. Time to fill up. Oh! Just done under 870 miles. It's day 3, and this is actually our 3rd fill-up, which I think is pretty good, actually, seeing as though we've driven all the way from the Czech Republic and we've only had 2 fuel stops. Now, what do I need? Diesel. Pop that in. And so far on day 3, it's been a pretty good journey, really. Covered in rain. Motorways are sopping wet, but the Kodiaq has taken all of it in its stride. And I have to say, it is nice not having to come to petrol stations all of the time, because that is the key benefit of having a diesel. Like it or lump it these days, as much as diesel is getting a bad rep, on long cross-continental journeys like we're doing, diesel still remains the fuel of choice. One thing I always love about Skodas, look, your little ice scraper, look at that. It's also got a magnifying glass on as well. Don't know quite why you need it, but it is still quite a nice touch. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, for the chocolate bar challenge. And we're going to start off with a Kit Kat Chunky, but no normal Kit Kat Chunky because this one has got hazelnuts in. So let's just see what this one's like, shall we? I have to say, I don't want to sound like an old man here, but the Kit Kat Chunky, they used to be a lot bigger than that, didn't they? But here it goes. It's actually really very nice indeed. You can really taste the hazelnut really kicking through, really cussing through the milk chocolate there. Oh, it's very good. Oh no, which is always the problem with the Kit Kat Chunky, is that you get little bits that come off and go into your crotch, into your lap, and now I've got chocolate all down me. Balisto. Ever heard of that one? Neither have I. This one's honey almond flavour. Just like the Twix, it's got 2 fingers, but I don't think it's going to taste like a Twix. Let's go for it. Oh my God. That's awful. Nuts by Nestle. Obviously a bit of a straightforward title for a chocolate bar, but let's see what it's like anyway, shall we? I'm thinking this is going to be a little bit similar to a Snickers, but I could be wrong. No, it isn't. It's not like a Snickers at all. It's a bit like the Milky Way with extra nuts. A bit of an unusual combination. That was a most delicious lunch. I'm very much looking forward to my supper.
Lunch over, and it was time to break up the boredom and go to a place where all British holidaymakers make a stop at, the old Reims Grand Prix circuit. But as the Karoq is a family SUV and isn't remotely sporty, I set off again and back onto the boring auto routes.
So the thing I hate about road trips is the mind-numbing boringness of them all, especially this bit when you're driving from mid to northern France on your way to Calais, because, I mean, the countryside is depressing, there's nothing interesting to look at, but the office knew that this was going to happen to me, so they've kindly given me something to listen to, and I've got it just down here, and it is... It's learn Czech in 40 minutes. Oh, that's brilliant. Right then, let's listen to this then, see if I can learn some Czech phrases from here to Calais. Here's hoping.
Welcome to Colin's 40-minute Czech.
40 minutes?
By listening to this recording 3 or 4 times and
3
practicing
or
the
4
words
times.
and phrases we suggest, you should have no problems getting by.
That's what you think.
It will also help you to recognize and understand at least some of what is said to you in shops, bars, and in the street when you're abroad.
Some.
We keep everything as short and simple as possible, giving key words and basic phrases.
Understood.
After you hear the English phrase, Zuzana will give the Czech twice, with a
Zuzana.
pause in between. Try to repeat the Czech, copying Zuzana's pronunciation and the way her voice rises and falls.
Got you.
Let's start with those really essential words. Yes.
Yes.
Ano. Ano.
Ano.
Ne.
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 Please.
Prosím.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Děkuju.
What?
Děkuju.
Not at all.
Oh.
Prosím. Prosím.
Prosím.
Okay or fine.
Dobrá.
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 Sorry.
Promiňte.
Promiňte. Promiňte.
Finally, after what seemed like a lifetime, we rolled onto our train home under the Channel. It was a much needed moment of rest because soon after I was back in the mayhem of London traffic. It was like the past 3 days hadn't even happened.
Well, there we are then. As the trip computer ticks over to 1,504 miles, we're here back at Auto Express HQ, and it's been 1,504 miles of comfortable, refined and fault-free transport. But the question I wanted to work out when we set off all the way back in the Czech Republic was this the new Skoda Karoq a special SUV? Did it stand out in a sea of SUVs? Well, I have to say it does. And the reason why is because it's such a competent all-rounder. Well, that's it then. I think it's time that I have a well-deserved drink.